as I said before, we do these events to help people feel good and give them things that they want. And we think it's important to have the opportunity to help people improve their skills, increase their skills, and have more positivity. And this particular one is called Confidence in Selling. And I'm very excited to be joined with the very glamorous and quite beautiful Bianca Caplan, and the equally glamorous and equally beautiful Holly Caplan. We think possibly relation, no relation. Holly is a dream strategist and confidence coach based in Dallas, Texas. And Holly's strapline is helping women manifest the life of their dreams. She is the author of a book called Surviving the Dick Click, a girl's guide to surviving in the male-dominated corporate world. Holly, welcome. And joined as well today with her is Bianca Caplan, who is co-author of Sell Your Attitude and also authoring with me the Anti-Sales Manifesto, our new sales training book. So welcome to Holly. Now, today we're going to be talking about confidence, and we're going to talk about the 7 parts of confidence, but specifically, we're going to be looking at things like fear. We're going to look at aspects of what makes a salesperson confident and what makes them lose their confidence. And you guys are going to be talking about stuff, and I'm going to be monitoring, maintaining, and chipping in as I see fit, or really as I won't be able to stop chipping in, because that is my way, apparently. So, with no further ado, Holly, would you like to introduce yourself and what you're all about?
Yes, I would love to. And thank you, Insta family, Bianca and Adam, let's just say that much, for having me on with you guys today. This means a lot to me that I'm able to join you for this. But I reside in Dallas, Texas, and I'm originally from New Orleans, Louisiana, home of Mardi Gras, which I'm very proud of, and boiled crawfish. Let me just throw that out there. But I was in sales for 25 years, and most of my time was spent in medical device field. I was a salesperson, became a field sales trainer, and then became a sales manager in the mid 2000s. Well, at the time, and it was a male-dominated field, and it really is for the most part. But over my years in management, I began to journal what my experiences were like in the boardroom, being the only female there. And I turned it into a book, as Adam mentioned. It's called Surviving the D-Click, A Girl's Guide to Surviving the Male-Dominated Corporate World. And after I wrote it, I pretty much knew I'd be moving on to something else at that point. So I now coach individuals on their confidence, and I help them reinvent themselves, if you will. A lot of people want to get out of corporate and start their own businesses, and that is where I really put most of my time. I also host a podcast that I started in June called GTFO, and I interview guests who have had to start their lives over. Again, it's based on reinvention. So I've had years in sales, years in management and sales training. But what I have to tell you today is that where I cut my teeth on confidence is my very, very first sales job. And that was with a company you've probably heard of, Cable and Wireless. I sold long distance in 1994. I'm really dating myself now. Business to business. I was selling long distance when it was a thing, which was a long time ago. But that is where I found my sales foundation. I had to make 25 telemarketing calls a day, cold calls, right? And I had to make 25 face-to-face cold calls. I used to have to go into office buildings and go office to office with my little Cable and Wireless business card, trying to schlep long distance. And you get beat up, you do, but that's also where your confidence soars, because when you learn you can make something out of nothing, out of selling long distance by just meeting people, you know you can be a true confident salesperson. So I will always give my years at Cable and Wireless all of the credit, because I still carry the same spirit and tenacity today as a business owner as I did when I was telemarketing way back when. And that is why confidence is important to me. That's why I wanted to be on this call with you guys today.
Absolutely, absolutely brilliant. So look, the seven parts that we're going to look at today is part 1, what is confidence? Part two, well, what is confidence anyway? Then what makes people confident? What steps can women in particular take to show more confidence? I think that's key. But the thing is, that's also the same for men. We don't want to be, we don't want to miss the poor men out in this one. Can you really fake it till you make it? And should you? Bianca and Holly, you're going to discuss manifestation within business, which is really cool. I'm going to talk about my top 5 steps to true confidence. And then we're going to look at why is true confidence important anyway. But what I would like to say to everyone on the call is, if you have anything in particular that you'd like us to address or look at, please put stuff in the chat bar, or you can ask a question and we will seek to really give you a response or look at that if anyone's got anything in specific that they're finding difficult. And if they want to ask it anonymously, they can private message us and we'll just say, look, somebody's asked us this question. They don't want to put that out there. But what I will say, this is a safe environment where we're all here to learn, develop and grow. And we want everybody to do that and feel that the love in here. So with that, Bianca, would you like to introduce yourself and then start us off by saying what, in your opinion, is confidence anyway?
Okay, so I'm Bianca. For those of you who know me, I am also a sales trainer. Dad and I are in business together and we run Cellular Attitude, our sales training and consultancy business. But really, I am a salesperson through and through. I have been in sales since I started my first job when I was 16. But I guess you could say it started before then. And of course, with my lovely dad as a sales trainer, he has taught me a fair bit over the years. But it's interesting what you said, Holly, about how when you were doing the cold calling, you actually had a bit of fire. It made you feel good. Sales is so scary for some people, and the idea of a cold call is so intimidating. But actually, when you're selling in the right way and you do have the confidence, I think it's a really fun job. And yes, it's challenging at times and you have to deal with rejection, and we'll go into that, and that is all to be overcome. But when you do have true confidence and you know what you're doing and you truly believe in what you're selling, it is enjoyable, and it really does fire you up. So hence why I'm in sales, because I genuinely really enjoy it. So I'm personally so glad to have Holly on board with us. I think this is the beginning of a lovely partnership between us, and there's just so much we can cover together. So okay, so what is confidence to me? Confidence to me is, when I'm confident, I feel like I can take on the world. So I suppose it has a link with my mindset. When I'm in the right mindset, I feel confident, especially in work. I think my mindset is definitely a growth mindset, although, we can all identify potential fixed traits within us. And for that, I really recommend a book called Mindset, which is by Dr. Carol Dweck. But yeah, for me, it's definitely my way of thinking. And when I'm not confident, it's because that voice in the back of my head is telling me otherwise. So I guess when I'm lacking confidence, that is to do with my own limiting beliefs. But when I'm confident, I'm on fire. So I guess, yeah, my way of thinking. What about you, Holly? What's confidence to you?
It's belief in yourself. And to me, it's the intersection of passion, competence, and attitude, because so much of it is, like you said, it's mindset. It's your attitude. It's your attitude of success. And I think that's what confidence is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think makes people more confident?
I think experience, but I can say that as a 50-year-old, I think experience makes you more confident in your next steps and what you're doing. When you show that you have repeatable success and you've done the right things, you trust yourself. And again, you believe in yourself. And for me, that's where confidence comes in. What about you, Bianca?
What makes me more confident? I I feel that working on myself all the time leads to more confidence in myself in all areas of my life. So I have different ways in which I do that, through mindfulness, through always revisiting what it is that I'm doing. So when I am in sales mode, always revisiting our business, what we're doing, staying up to date, so that I can always be learning and developing. And for me, it's all about learning. So that does lead me to higher confidence.
So we've got great comment from, we're very lucky that we've got Phil Berg with us, who's a tremendous sales trainer.
Hi, Phil.
Really fabulous. And he's put, for me, the courage to go for what you're scared of going for, but it's something that you want, which is really good. When Bianca was younger, I used to take her to an amusement park called Thorpe Park. And we had an annual pass, so we could just go for an hour every Sunday morning.
We literally went on a Saturday morning, and you could go in before the park opened and just go on all the big rides, and then they'd let it out to the general public.
Permanently petrified of a ride called Colossus. And I used to take her and I say, come on, you've got to face your fears. You've got to face your fears. And of course she went on it, was scared every time, but loved it every time. And it's that overcoming the difficult part. But in sales, I think one of the key things about confidence is this. If you know that the customer you're talking to 100% wants the product, they really want this, and you know that this, whatever you're talking about, product, service, solution, is 100% right for them, then we are confident that what we have is right for the customer. It's when we don't know and we're guessing and we're throwing that into the ether that confidence starts to really go. And for me, that's where the fear comes in, because you don't know. You don't know if the customer wants it. You don't know if they like it. You don't know. And so now you're lacking confidence. And this is part of it.
Yeah.
What say you?
But we don't need to necessarily be guessing, because we'll always be asking the right questions, right? Well, I think what do you think holds people back from being confident, Holly?
I think there are 3 areas, and I think you and I will speak well to them. And I don't think the first area will shock anybody. The first area is fear of failure. We all have fear of failure, and that will ding your confidence. I don't know if you knew this or not. I just learned this myself, but 80% of our decisions are based on fear.
Really?
We think about 20% of our decisions are based on rational thinking and confidence, and that big 80% is not. So that's our driving force. And as a salesperson, I know we can all understand that fear factor. Will I succeed? What if they don't want to buy from me? What if I don't hit my quota? What will other people think? We have all of this going on in our head, right? So then what happens? Then you have limiting beliefs, because those become your limiting beliefs. I can't, I won't, I don't deserve. And then you're back in the fear factor again, and it becomes a big cycle. I can speak to it because I've been through it. I know what it feels like. So you think about what this does to a salesperson. What does it do to you as a salesperson when you don't have confidence and all you feel is fear, anxiety? I got to hit a number and I don't feel good about myself or about what's happening at the time, right? It causes anxiety. It causes sales call reluctance. When you're sitting in your car and you have to go in and make this call, but you're not feeling confident.
Yeah, you don't want to pick up the phone.
You don't want to. Those limiting beliefs and that fear and that negative talk track is in your head. And as salespeople, we have to continue to push through that and find ways to overcome it, whether it has to do with your intuition or your planning. But I think fear of failure is the number one thing. It's the number one thing that hurts all of us. So I'm glad we're talking about this today.
Did you know?
I have a solution that I was going to say, I have a solution that I'd like to share, and then I'll pass it back to you guys. And I think this can apply to anyone, because as a salesperson, you're self-driven, you're self-motivated. You have to keep yourself up here, right? To keep going. I set intentions every day, and I had my clients do the same things. And I feel like if you set your intentions as a salesperson every day, that you will be organized, you will be driven, and you will be, most importantly, confident in your actions. And I'll read to you my intentions today. I have to read them. Sorry.
Yeah, please do.
I'll read them to you. I had 3 today that stuck out. The first one was be a magnet for all things positive. I want to be positive for other people. I want to engage with people who are the same. I want to be able to have that positive exchange. I feel like if I start with that, then my confidence starts high, because that's my intention.
I love that.
Thank you. I like that one too. It just brings light to the day. My second today was more tactical. Network with 3 different individuals. Talk about my business, hear about their business, talk about how we can work together. If I hold myself accountable in my intentions every day, my business grows, and guess what happens to confidence? It soars, because you're making progress. My last intention today is what I'll do today when we get off the call is set my January goals. I feel like if I'm planned out, that I've got confidence, and that my activity will just be stronger.
Yeah, do you know, I actually read in a book today, another great book recommendation called Limitless by Jim Quick, and he said that when we set goals, if our mindset is not aligned with our goals, how are we going to achieve them? So I absolutely love what you do, Holly, with setting intentions.
Oh, thank you.
I call it positive affirmations, but I think it's so powerful for a salesperson to every single day write out their intentions or their positive affirmations, because I think motivation is key. You know, we can all have down days in sales. Every single salesperson has had bad days, and motivation is so important. And, you know, who better to motivate anyone than you? So being able to motivate yourself and having these positive affirmations or intentions gets you in that positive frame of mind. If you start your day in that way, you're really setting the trajectory in a powerful way. Are you wanting to add something?
No, I'm listening.
But also, when it comes to a failure, you mentioned anxiety, that feeling of really getting bogged down from that. And for me, always coming back to the breath. If any of you get into that fearful state in the sales process, or really are lacking confidence, if ever you do come to a call or a meeting and you're really sort of panicked, just coming back to the breath, I find taking some simple deep breaths or doing a meditation before is really, really helpful. And over the last sort of 5 years, I've really lent into this, and it is just so powerful. You don't have to be woo-woo or anything like that. Just taking a couple of deep breaths, right? Literally, just taking some deep breaths is amazing. I
want to share something here that I don't know if everyone on the call knows, but certainly I don't think you know this, Bianca. But basically, when I was a salesperson, younger than you, was selling commercial life insurance, and they used to say to managers, right, Tuesday morning, pizza and cold call, 100 dials, 2 hours. And it got to the point where I went to bed on a Monday night in fear, because my call sheets was the yellow pages. And because I was the youngest, I got A. And people had made notes in the yellow pages, and you just had to bang out the phone calls. This is back in the 80s. I got to the point where I physically couldn't pick up the phone. The fear was so bad, and I had just been thrown into the deep end. And I ended up, after about 6 months of this, and I'd power through, of course, but it was terrible. And I ended up getting hypnosis to get over that.
I didn't know that.
I know you didn't know that. And I had hypnosis to try and break that mental block. So I think it's all in here. everything that's going on is in here, about what it is we do. That fear of failure, I was just getting rejection because I was doing it wrong, wasn't asking the right questions, wasn't acknowledging, was talking the wrong tense. I was, give an example, selling commercial life insurance. Well, the commercial life insurance gig is quite difficult. You give me money every month for the rest of your life, and when you die, somebody else is going to get a lot of money. It's quite a hard sell when you put it like that. So it's understanding the ethos of what you're selling, why you're selling, what am I selling, what am I doing? Do I really understand the benefits of what I'm selling, the product? What does it do for the client? All of that is part of, for me, know what you sell, know your customer, and everything else. So, we've got two aspects to this. We've got ourself, how we are, and also, in my point, which is what we're selling, what we're talking about. And we've got a couple of messages here, by the way, just before we move on. Kim Fowler has asked, how do you get confidence selling for yourself? I can sell other stuff phenomenally, but I shrink from lining my own pockets. All right. And the other question was, I used to cold call every day, had great results. They liked my voice, I think. And in fact, I wasn't an aggressive, angry salesman. This was from Juliet. And it worked for me by not being angry. So how you appropriate. But let's answer Kim's question, if you wouldn't mind, ladies.
Oh, we'll take it. Are you gonna answer?
Yeah, you are.
So, Kim, I'd ask you, why is it that you could sell other stuff so phenomenally? Was it that you had a complete belief in what you were selling, and Holly, I'm sure you'll take on from this, but it would look to me like there are limiting beliefs there, because if you were so good at selling someone else's products and you knew that product really well and you believed in it, are you believing in yourself?
Good point.
What would you say, Holly?
I thought the same thing. Kim, it looks like a limiting belief, like we talked about earlier, because you should be able to sell your own products. The other thing there is, if you're not talking about your business, nobody else is. So how much time are you putting into promoting your business? Because a lot of people think, oh, I don't want to be pushy, I don't want to promote too much, but you really have to put yourself out there. So if you're selling other things phenomenally, you should be able to do the same with your own, and not shrink your pockets and grow them.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. I think it is really important to, have that belief and be able to do what you want to do. So I think that is vital.
Yeah, maybe if there is a limiting belief there, identifying that, perhaps sort of really maybe journal that and try and find out what it is that's holding you back. Because really you should never want to shrink yourself at all, and really then you can truly shine.
Right.
Julia, interesting what you've said, because you said, I think they liked my voice and the fact I wasn't an aggressive, angry salesman. Not that they all are angry. Do you know what? I once was on a sales floor and it was all boys, or all men, and I was the only girl, and they were also shocked by me because actually I was quite sweet, as they would say, and I had the highest results across all of the 3 sales floors. And I think this comes back to the book that we're bringing out, the Anti-Sales Manifesto. When you really care about your customer, or when you genuinely sell, as we like to say, sell with love, you're actually helping people make the right buying decisions. And when you're comfortable in that and you know how to ask the right questions and you're literally just helping someone make the right buying decision, it actually comes quite easy. So if anyone is struggling on the call, when you get that awkward call and you're like, hello, what am I going to say? That's a very stressful place to be. And that's really putting you in fight or flight. You don't need to overthink it so much, because really you're just finding out about the person. And there is no need to be an aggressive, angry salesman, because looking to know your client and find out the right information. So that is a really powerful way to reframe your mind when doing any form of sales call or face-to-face selling. Just think of it as if they were your friend. Yeah, exactly. You're wanting to befriend them. Exactly.
And a good point that Phil's made actually about turn your mindset from selling to the prospect to talking about the value or the unbelievable value in capitals that he's put. In other words, saying that they're so lucky, you know, to be getting the benefit of your product. And I think that's really important. Also, the fact that you have a responsibility to that customer to do the best job possible, because if you don't do the best job possible helping them buy it, they won't get the benefit of it, which means you've let them down in a way. What do you think, Holly?
I agree. If you have not met their needs or their desire, then there's no point in selling it, because they know, and you know, it doesn't help you retain a relationship.
Absolutely. I've always noticed and also observed and learned that when you don't believe in what you are selling, the customer knows.
Totally.
They know. It's like if you're talking to someone, you don't have to have high empathic abilities to do that. You can sense when someone doesn't really believe in it, and you can. That's why when you speak to someone and they're passionate, you're just like, oh, you love it. It's so lovely to speak to someone who's passionate about what they do. It makes us all smile because you can really feel it from them. Yeah. So I mean, we're sort of going. There's so many things we could cover here. And I think we'll come back to the assertive sales model again towards the end, although we talk about it in every webinar. It's such an effective way. Juliet uses it, has seen it in action. It really does work. And so we'll come back to that. So let's move on to confidence issue number 2. I know Holly's got a story to share with us. And this one is bad bosses and also poor leadership. So perhaps you are under that you have a boss or have had a boss in the past that has been really challenging, or you are a business owner and you are the boss, and perhaps you've identified that you have certain elements of your leadership that could be improved. Perhaps you identify poor leadership skills. I know I've worked with business owners and leaders that have genuinely admitted I am not a leader, hence why they hire other people to do it for them. So Holly, take us away.
This is one of my favorite topics. This is one of my favorite topics. And if anyone out there has had a bad boss or poor leadership, please put it in the chat. And there's actually a movie called Bad Bosses, which I think is kind of funny. Having poor leadership will do a number on your confidence. And if you guys have experienced that, then you probably know that, because you might find that your skills are undermined. They may discredit you. They don't make you feel like you're worth what you're really trying to give them. And it's a sad, sad situation, but I've seen it happen over and over again. I'll give you an example. About 10 or 11 years ago, I was in sales and my team had just killed the quarter. Actually, the whole company had. We launched a new product. We put up some high numbers, made the company a lot of money. We had a lot of achievements. So after the quarter, we have a face-to-face quarterly business meeting where we meet, we talk about our numbers, why we were successful, highlight the performers. So we're sitting in the boardroom, 7:30 a.m. You can smell the coffee flowing. We're all waiting to sit down, you know, and get seated and talk about our great quarter because we were so proud of our teams and our people. The CEO stands up at the head of the table and we're waiting to hear, great job, guys. He leads the meeting with, who are we going to fire today? You know, we're like, what? Who are we going to fire today? We just knocked it out of the park with a new product and we killed our numbers. And we just looked at each other, just completely baffled as to why you would start a meeting like that. But he led based on fear. He never wanted us to feel good enough to know that we could keep doing what we were doing. So that was a lesson for me as a leader, and to help me recognize what traits I did not want to engage in with my leader or as a leader. So that can have an impact on your confidence. And I have some tips on how to manage that. But I know Bianca wanted to talk about the good leadership traits. So I'll let you go with that one, Bianca.
Oh,
What
getting excited what she's going to say about me now.
Well, again, for me, it really comes down to mindset. And as I embarked on a journey of really learning and looking into mindset on a deeper level, it helps you understand why some bad leaders are the way they are. And I do think it comes down to a fixed mindset. That sort of it's my way or the highway sort of attitude. But a good leader is someone who is growth led, so really invests in their people, because at the end of the day, if we think of a business as a living organism, the people are the DNA of the business. So the people that are working for this bad boss, if it wasn't for them, the bad boss wouldn't be getting all those good numbers. And so it's so important, I think, to really treat your staff with respect, to get to know them as individuals. We're all so different. No human is the same. We might share similarities, but we're so different. Like, if someone's personality or their learning style is different, and you have taken the time to understand your employee, you're going to know how to help guide them to be better. If you can invest in the right learning and development for your people, they're going to thrive. And what better sales team to have than a team of salespeople who are just thriving and confident and happy. They're going to be getting great results. They're going to have a higher retention rate, and it's just a win-win situation. So when it comes to praise, I think it's important to be able to give out constructive criticism with the look of helping them to level up. We all need to improve, and also a leader, I think, should invest in learning and development. I think we can all benefit from increasing our education, our skill set. Sometimes I speak to people, for example, when it comes to sales training. Oh no, I know everything. That's great. I'm sure you do, but actually none of us know everything, and there's always new ways to do things. And by exercising your brains and learning, we can achieve so much more. And I think it makes you more of a team player too. So I hope that makes sense. But there are many great leaders out there. In fact, I had one of my most memorable leaders when I was working as hardcore sales team, telesales. She really took the time to understand me as a person, and she went with me. And because of that, I just thrived. She didn't try and conform me into a box or tell me who to be, or there was no strict regime of how you should be. Instead, it was more like a flow. And each and every person was then able to flow. And I think that is the way forward. I think, today, if I was to have a sales team, I would definitely be looking at a more of a flow as opposed to the strict regime, which, to be honest, I don't think works. So that's my take.
So I think that's interesting because, you have autocratic leadership where they just literally said, this is what you've got to do. Or you've got bureaucratic leadership where you've just got to follow the rules. The rules are the rules, can't do anything about it. But I think great leadership is facilitative. And we're actually lucky, Phil's on this call, and Phil is a great leader because he drives people, but he also inspires them because he cares from he's one of these really caring people. And that's why I'm such a great fan of what he does. I've been led by terrible people, and you just have no confidence. You don't believe what they're going to say. They don't inspire you. And in the end, if you don't have trust and belief and confidence, we're back to confidence again, we don't have that confidence in what your leader is giving you, what your vision or the vision of the organization is, then you don't have confidence because you haven't really committed. Because if you're not in, you're out. And the truth is, you've got to be all in. And that means leading from the front. So my belief in leadership is facilitative. let others grow. Don't make it all about you. Make it about them, because and actually, and I'm going to bring this straight back to sales. If your focus as a leader is on your team, then your team will do anything for you. And if your focus as a salesperson is on your customer, same thing. You should, as a salesperson, be facilitating the customers to help them find the right thing for them. Help me to help you, to use the Jerry Maguire thing. But it's very true, because help me to understand you so that I can best do it. And we have an ethos in our business of not talking about what we do really in detail until we know about the customer. So I won't discuss helping our clients with what our services, which is ultimately to help them sell more now, until we've asked the questions like, what are your objectives? What's your business? Why are you doing what you do as an organization? What's your core? What's your mission? Who are your best customers? What type of customers do you really want to go for? Who do you specifically target? I always say, as many do in our organization, specific is terrific. What are the core competencies that you do really well? And are they aligned to your target customers? And then, who are your competitors, your main ones, your auxiliary customers, your secondary customers? How do you compete with them? What do you do better, differently? Find everything out before you talk about what you do. Because then how can you know? Otherwise, you're just guessing. You need to know what they want or what they need, but want really. And if you can find and ask those right questions and listen to the customer, let them talk, then it's not actually selling, is it? It's just helping them make that buying decision.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that takes a lot of pressure off. And that's what it took me 20 years of failure to learn.
Yeah. How?
Gotta feel forward.
But so I think a big question here is, okay, so we've all had a bad boss, or most of us have, because unfortunately there are quite a lot out there. But I like to think that is changing as we grow as humanity. However, you've got some great ways in which you can actually overcome a bad boss. So how would you share that with the group?
Oh, I'm going to share it. I want to acknowledge some of the things that people have written, because they relate. Like Carol says, she had learned a lot from bad leaders, mostly how to not do things. That's funny, Carol, and that's true. Mark Grant says, worst situation is if your boss feels that you might be outperforming them, making them look bad, it undermines you. And undermines you makes it tough to stay in this situation. No fault of your own, Mark. That's certainly part of it too. And Justin says they can change the goals at the last minute. That happens, and you feel like you're chasing a moving target. I know what you're talking about, Justin. I've seen that happen in several organizations. Like you think something's your quota, and then it changes 3 weeks before the end of the year. You're like, what happened? And I like what Colin says here. Inspirational leaders don't have to spend all of their time at the front. They don't have. That's great, Colin.
Jarrett's put a great comment about one of the best companies with the best products he's ever seen, and he had to leave because of bad leadership.
Yeah.
So have I. It's a sad turn of events in that situation, and you do sometimes wonder why the leader above the leader, if it's one of the especially in sales teams, it can often be like a sales manager, and you often wonder why other leaders are not stepping in and changing it. But that is company politics.
It's working fine for them. If it's working for them and they don't see it, then it'll stay like that. But I've got a couple of tips for people who do decide to stay in a situation where you're not best friends with your boss. And Bianca and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and I did not do this. This was my lesson, and that's why I'm sharing it with you guys. Is number one thing is boundaries, and to have boundaries, because when you're in a situation with a poor leader, you might feel like you have to keep giving and giving, even though you're not getting the results you wanted, the accolades you deserve from it. So have boundaries with who you're reporting to. That might be something as simple as at 6 p.m., do not answer your phone. Have you guys gotten the frantic phone calls from your boss about something completely dumb and irrelevant after 6 p.m. when you're trying to stir pasta and feed your 10-year-old child, and they want to talk about something that can wait? Put the phone away. You do not, unless you're a physician and you have to do brain surgery, you probably don't have to answer that phone. So have your boundaries, because you don't want them to take advantage of you. My other tip here is email your communication with if you have a difficult boss, even after you finish the conversation with him or her, recap it, write it, make sure it's time-stamped, just so that you have your documentation and you can represent yourself. The last part of this is, when you have a bad boss, what happens? Gossip. Everybody's talking about that person behind his or her back. Don't get involved in it. Stay away from it. I've seen situations where people do get involved with it. They get in trouble. They ultimately leave the company, perhaps not on their own will. So I say stay clean of whatever inner office politics are happening around the person who might be toxic. So just have your boundaries if you do choose to stay in that situation, and you can maintain your confidence. So that's important to know.
Yeah, that's great advice. I think if you choose to stay is an interesting comment, because I don't think you actually have to stay. If you really have a bad boss that is that bad, you can go. I feel like, especially here in the UK, especially as I was sort of growing up, and when you first start getting jobs and stuff, my friends always used to say, no, you've got to stick it out because you have to have that amount of time on your CV. I thought, no, I'm not going to stay somewhere I'm not happy. And when it's poor leadership, I will go, and that's fine. If someone asks me in a job interview why I left, I can handle myself, and it's never been a problem. But yeah, I think people do stay in jobs for way too long when they're genuinely so unhappy. And I guess that also comes down to having the confidence to leave, to believe in yourself, that you can step out of that negative situation and into a more positive one. It's also...
So I want to ask a question, because we haven't answered it. We haven't really answered it directly. What steps can women take in particular to help them improve with their confidence?
First of all, we have to communicate, because I think women are typically more quiet in a setting that makes them uncomfortable. I can speak from experience. I'm not making this up. I have been like that. I think you have to be able to communicate what's on your mind, and you have to be able to talk about it. And you can't be afraid of what other people are going to think. But that's the number one thing for me.
Interesting.
Yeah. Bianca, do you have anything on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, again, I think this comes back to having the confidence to stand up for yourself. I feel pretty grateful that I'm quite assertive. Maybe that's because I lived in Israel, and it's a pretty I think when you're dealing with the Middle Eastern culture, you become, as the saying is, you have a bit of chutzpah. You've got to be a bit, you really got to stand up for yourself. So I have that, but a lot of people don't. And I think it can be intimidating as a woman when you've got a very domineering, fairly, not very kind male figure. It can be quite intimidating and unfair a lot of the time. So yeah, but if you're in that situation, I think stand your ground, and if it doesn't sort of solve it, I would go. What's the point?
Just to clarify, I'm not that male negative person, just to clarify.
I love you, Dad.
So
we know that.
Here's another one, right? Can you fake it until you make it with confidence, and should you?
Oh, interesting question.
What do you think?
Well, this is an interesting concept, the fake it till you make it, and I see it in a couple of different ways. I guess in my own mind, I fake it till I make it because I'm manifesting all the time. I'm really big on manifestation. So quite literally, you can call me deluded. Every single day, I'm saying things to myself as if I've already achieved them. So I'm telling myself that I have what I already want every single day. So I am technically, I guess you could say, faking it till I make it. And it works well for me. But when it comes to confidence, I think, I don't know about faking it, but I think it's more, okay, so I'll be truly honest here. I always get nervous before our webinars. And I've done public speaking, and I was on the debating society at school, and I've done motivational talks, but I always get this fear before. And Dad's always like, you're being ridiculous. And it's me having a lack of confidence in myself.
No, wait a minute. I'm going to say something here. So I listened to a podcast this morning, funnily enough, about public speaking, and it was an Ivan Meisner podcast, and he does 200 a year. Is a very, very capable speaker, and he says he's always nervous and has to be nervous before he speaks. Otherwise, there's no energy, there's no power. This is vital. And he said if he goes along to a meeting and he's not nervous, he's going, oh my God, I'm not feeling nervous, and wallop, he's nervous and he's ready to present. Right. So don't knock it, because every time the nervousness is good. It's when you have that imposter syndrome that I think sometimes you suffer from. That's when I think, so come on, you're really great. And interestingly, Phil's just mentioned he's always freaking before he presents. Always. Wow. It's the same thing for me. I mean, I actually have been known to go to an opening of an envelope, so I'm always happy to do that. It's a joke.
Yeah.
We have a question from Evan. We've got two questions.
Oh, yes. So one question, was from Ivan, which was, do you think there are people that are just not cut out for sales, or with the right investment in development, can anyone do it?
I think
I've got an opinion on this, but you guys go.
I think some people naturally have a flair, but I don't think that means you can't be taught. And I think there's a bit of a divide when you think about salespeople. There's also different types of salespeople and different approaches towards sales. I mean, there's a gazillion books out there, and you speak to different people and they have different approaches. However, in the way that we teach it, I think you can teach someone, and if they have the confidence and they have the right approach, we are all natural salespeople. If you see a toddler asking mummy for a biscuit a million times, and every time mummy says no, they say, they've always got another question. You see it with young children. So if we're born as salespeople, I think we lose it through the system, or when we go through the matrix, we lose that. However, you can definitely learn that. We sometimes you might lose yourself a little bit, and you can always find yourself again. I think salespeople.
What do you think, Holly? Can you be made, or do you have to be natural born?
I think you can be made. I do. I think if you learn your formula, whatever sales training works for you, and techniques, and just the opening, if you have the charisma, then you can do it. That's what I think.
I've got a controversial point here.
Do you?
Yep. Because I don't think all people are cut out for sales. And I'll tell you who shouldn't be salespeople. If they're unethical.
Yes.
If they do not care about people, if they are only out for a quick buck and aren't genuinely wanting to care about people, if they don't have the facility or the capability to want what's best for the customer, then they shouldn't be salespeople. Unfortunately, there are people like that in the profession, and it gives the profession a bad name. That's me being very, very passionate about that. And the second question was from Carol. Is there a confusion between self-esteem and confidence?
I think so. That's in my humble opinion. I think there is a difference. I think people can overcompensate for lack of confidence. I've seen that over and over again. And that's why I think that there is a difference. I think confidence should come from a genuine place.
Yeah.
Excellent. So lots of good comments on there as well. Cool.
I believe you can do anything if you put your mind to it and want to do it.
And that brings us into Holly and Bianca talk about manifestation. But before you do that, I actually want to ask a question, because there's something that Bianca uses a phrase, and she uses many phrases that I haven't got a clue what she's talking about, because she's enlightened and I'm not.
I'm not
I'm sorry, that was last week. You were telling me that. But no, I'm only joking. You know what? There was a question. What on earth, and I have no idea what it is, what on earth is the halo effect? I thought Halo was a computer game.
Oh,
What is the halo effect? Am I missing something here?
Holly?
oh, the halo effect is like the ripple effect that one situation has on you. Like fear causes anxiety and limiting limiting beliefs. That's the halo effect, how it just kind of like has an impact on different areas. It's not just one. Halo.
What's that?
Halo. It's halo effect.
Comes around, goes around.
I thought, rather than Google it, I just asked on the webinar, because I thought that would be interesting to do.
Okay.
With that in mind, let's talk about another issue with confidence, specifically in selling, and that's low numbers or rankings or not having enough clients for your business, and how this has an impact. So Holly.
Yes, for the salespeople out there, how do seeing your rankings affect you if you are not at the top of the leaderboard? Because when I was in outside sales and medical device, we would get sales reports every morning with the latest sales numbers and rankings for everybody. And it was like an addiction. Like I would check that thing first thing in the morning, because I wanted to see exactly where I stood. And if I was high that day or I had a great previous sales day, my confidence was like skyrocketing. I felt like I could conquer the world. The next day I wake up, check my sales numbers, not so good. Didn't feel so confident, and it would dictate my mood. I would let my sales numbers just, help me decide if I was happy or sad or frustrated that day. And that's kind of not healthy. I understand why sales organizations do it, because they want to keep you driven and they want to drive certain behaviors, but some of the behavior you get out of that is not necessarily the right behavior. So that's something that does affect salespeople. And when you don't feel confident in your sales, you feel like you can't sell, you start to question yourself. It kind of goes back to the fear thing from the very top of this call. So we wanted to be sure to address that, how your numbers can affect you emotionally, and they can actually affect you physically too. Like if I did not think I was going to make my quota or sell what I needed to sell, I might have chest pains. Like that's how seriously I took it. And what does that do to your confidence? So we wanted to be sure that to address that today, because this is kind of built into most sales organizations. And I don't want you to feel that your confidence was low because of these things, because you're, a super salesperson. It's not worth the angst that we feel for this.
Yeah.
That's what I had on that, Bianca. I know you've got motivation. You've got things of motivation here to help people overcome the situation.
Yeah, well, just touching on the numbers, it's interesting because when it comes to leaderboards, they are really effective and they are a great driver, and it can be fun. And you're right, when you've got high numbers, God, are you soaring? Because it's gamification. It keeps people moving. But it does have its negative effects if not managed properly. I think again that comes down to leadership, because if you've got, I think some people can become quite intimidated. For example, if you've got someone that's always at the top of the leaderboard, I think you'll have a good input on this one, because when we go into businesses, sometimes if we look at auditing the sales team, there can be problems.
So, yeah.
And this comes to the numbers.
So I as you guys know, we did a lot of sales training and consulting and coaching, and I've done a number of organizations that I've been into where I've done an assessment, and I've actually said to the managers, the boss, the director, okay, you need to let 2 salespeople go. And they go, okay. And they think it's the people at the bottom, and it's not, it's the 2 at the top. Because what they've done is they've found a way to rook the system, to subvert the leads into their own drive, because there's always a system and there's always a way around it. And what's happened is actually they are providing, they're not just not doing as well as they appear to do, just because their end figures are good. It's because they've managed to get what I call the Glengarry leads. And they are snaffling away the good stuff from everyone else and sucking out everybody else's confidence and driving it. And I must have done this 7 or 8 times in different organizations. And they literally sit there and they go, like I've hit them in the face with a wet fish. And I go, look, let me show you why. Because when you dig into the stats and you look at their actual closing ratios, you realize that what they're doing is they've just found the good leads and they're burning through the good leads. And they're taking things away from people, and that is really bad. And that's when I talk about good people and bad people and stuff like that. So that's a really good point. We've got a question from Mark, by the way. Do you have any hot words that you look at to boost your confidence? This is into manifestation. So
hot words, what do you mean by
like positive words, like positivity? Is it like to manifest positivity? Is that what he's talking about there?
I'm not familiar with this phrase, but if you mean like what do you
to boost your confidence? That's sorry. I think, to speak to Mark, whenever I feel doubt about what I'm doing, I always picture the word trailblazer. Like, I just picture myself as trying to blaze a trail based on what I believe in. And that's a hot word that I use. It's determination. Yeah, I like, because it's about change. For me, it's about change, and it's okay to be uncomfortable, right? So my word is trailblazer that I go to. I hope that helps. Helping. Help. Leighton says hers is. Is that your word, Leighton? Helping?
Thank you for that, Holly. No,
sorry.
I will get great value out of that. She's a lovely girl, Leighton. Lovely. Brilliant. And Phil will enjoy that as well. Cool.
I've never actually thought of hot words, but you know what? When I go on a run, I tend to run after a word. I learned this once when I was listening to a training when running. So you sort of run as if you're following the word. And I guess I use this to increase my confidence. And I tend to run towards empowerment. And you almost like visualize the word and like you run towards it and you really push yourself mentally. So I like that. I've learned something tonight.
Does hot words not bring us into affirmations?
Well, before we get to that, I think there's some other bits to talk about the low numbers. A really good piece of advice is, and this goes for business owners as well, you don't have to be in the sales team, but when you've got low numbers, or you start to really look at yourself, it's quite easy to look at everyone around you and start to compare yourself, or start to get a bit in your head about why are other people doing so well. It's great to see other people succeeding. My way to look at this is always be happy for other people's success. Don't put others down, because you're actually just going to put yourself down. Focus on you, focus on your results, focus on how you can improve yourself. So how can you get better results? Okay, why am I having a bad month? Why have I got lower numbers? Why have I not got enough clients? What am I doing wrong? Revisit your business, revisit what you're selling, and get to know it again. Just because you've been in the same job for 2 years selling the same thing doesn't mean you necessarily know it that well. If you've been running your business for 5 years, that's great, but everything changes. Every year brings change and new opportunities. So revisit your business. We had to all do that this year, didn't we? Dan,
she's so good. I love it. In Yiddish terms, nachas. I'm telling you, this is amazing. Really great.
So
love it.
We
can't wait to be.
Dad will love this, because he did give a BNI booster webinar for all the BNI members on here. And we really had to look at our business at the beginning of this year, because to be quite honest, when COVID hit, all our clients face-to-face sales training went out the window, because lockdown happened. There was so much uncertainty, and the whole face-to-face selling scene completely just dripped away. So we had to literally, and as Dad came up with the idea of looking at your business as a startup. That's not a bad thing to do at a point when you've got low numbers. So just revisit your whole business plan, look at and really get to know it, refresh what you're doing, take a time out, rather than just running on empty fuel and fear, just take a minute to revisit. And also, I think motivation really is key, because when we're motivated, we lead closer to self-actualization. And I think if you're feeling demotivated, you're not going to do as well. And Holly, you can elaborate on this. Often I think if I compare a bad month for me, or a bad week, or a bad day even, I tend to look inward, because I see a correlation with what's going on in my life. It could be completely external to work. It could be my personal life. It could be, again, a limiting belief or anxiety, but what is causing it? Because actually, sometimes the answers are all in you, and maybe you need to do a bit of personal development or work on something on you, and then your numbers will come. What do you think, Holly?
I think a lot of it is attitude, because when you feel like you're sinking and your numbers aren't right, it's easier to sink than it's easier to dwell in the negative side of things instead of figure out how to make it right for yourself. Think about it. It's easier just to be, this sucks. This is where I'm at, instead of pulling yourself out of it.
I would like to jump in here. I think a lot of it is down to perception. You see, when you pick up the phone, any salesperson, we all do it. You pick up the phone and you go, this is going to be a customer. Because that's our positive mind sabotaging us to fail. And I'll explain why. This customer is going to buy. I know they're going to buy because I said positively I'm going to buy. And you know what? Statistically speaking, they're not. Because statistically speaking, according to the math of sales, you will harvest many, many more no's than you will yeses, no matter how good you are. Because and I know this from years of telesales training, if you make 100 dials, you cannot get 100 yeses. It's impossible. And anyone who says they've done it is lying. Because if you make 100 dials, 25% of those calls are not in, voicemail, gone bust, dead numbers. So already you've got 25 no's. You may not have been told no. Then 25 people are going to not be available. They're not going to be in their office. They'll be on a phone call. They won't be available when you thought they were going to be available. 25 people are going to be the wrong people. And of the people that are left, you'll speak to 30 out of 100 decision makers on average, because that's just the math of sales. So already you've had 70 micro failures because you're expecting to speak to every single person. Hope hurts. Now, when you speak to those 30, not all 30 are going to buy. I've done this as an experiment. I said to a team, and I did this, I don't know if I could do this now, but I said, right, you're going to ring up customers, and you've got to ring up, and you've got to get their details so you can send them £10 in the post. Anyway, yeah, okay, we'll get everyone. Same stats, the same statistics as if you were selling when you're giving money away. It's not easy. People want the same stuff. So you'll get 10 of the people of the 30 you speak to will go to a proposal, and of that a percentage will buy. So if you made $100 and you got 10 sales, it's an outstanding day. But 90 times you failed in your mind. And so you go home, you're buzzing from the sales, but in your heart, you've had 90 stabs because of 90 no's. So it's that perception of the math of sales, of trying to find out now. And this is because you're selling. Now, if you change the dynamic and you ask questions and your objective isn't to sell, but it's to find as many people as you can to talk to who you can find out if they are relevant to if what you are offering is relevant to them. That's the objective. Because if it's relevant, you can then help them buy if it's right for them. Because even if it's the right product, right customer, right product, right time, doesn't mean they're going to buy. They may not be able to afford it. Their budgets may not be open for a while. They may have just bought what you have from somebody else. It may not be as good as yours, but they have already made that purchasing decision. That's no fault of yours. You haven't failed because of that. It just wasn't the right time. So perception will change. And it's very hard because people think selling isn't. Hence the anti-sales manifesto.
And you know what, that comes back to what we were saying all along. And Holly speaks a lot about how confidence is really connected with attitude and mindset. And you're saying perception, but really it's your mindset, because if you're looking at it's how you view it. Are you looking at the rejection as something to be seen as a negative, or you're excited? Yes, I love rejection because I'm one step closer to a yes.
There's a lot of details. In our next webinar, we're going to talk about my anti-sales manifesto, or our anti-sales manifesto, should I say. And hopefully Holly can join us in that. So anything you guys want to talk about manifestation?
Do you have anything, Holly, that you want to cover that we've not spoken about?
I think that comes with setting your intentions at the beginning of the day. Absolutely. As far as manifesting what you're going to do, it can really be that simple.
Do you have any hint how you can do that for people that have never done it before?
Write down what you want to achieve in your day. Just get up when you're fresh and you're having coffee, because I have coffee, and write down what it is you want to achieve. And I know it sounds basic, but I'm a firm believer of writing it into action. When I wrote my book 3.5 years ago, I knew I was going to write it. I wrote down my plan. I knew I'd be on the news for it. I manifested it, and it happened.
Brilliant.
And I don't think that it would have happened if I had not planned it up here first.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Good. Well,
write it into action. Write it. You know what? Now is a great time because we're coming up in 2021.
Yes.
So, like Bianca was saying earlier, get your journal and write out what you want to accomplish, and it will happen.
Yeah, that honestly, goal setting is, salespeople. By the way, if you're a business owner and we're all salespeople. Generally, if you're in a sales role, that is your job, a salesperson. You're very in tune with goal setting. You've got KPIs, you'll run on targets. So goal setting generally tends to come naturally to salespeople. However, we're all salespeople. I know there's business owners here that are salespeople, but may not feel that they are a salesperson. So goal setting and really setting intentions they lead to higher motivation, and it does work. Holly, it does, isn't it? We might be a bit more woo-woo than some people in the group, but it works. This stuff speaks volumes.
You can tie it back to your actions. Like I said earlier, one of my intentions today was to network with 3 different people today. And I have 2. I've got 1 more when we're done at 3:00 my time. And because of that, my confidence stays high because I've made more connections. So I think it's twofold. I think it's a little woo, but it's also action-based because you make yourself.
I think there's people on this call that will probably want to network with you. So, I know 2 or 3 people on this call that would definitely want to do that.
Yeah, you should all definitely connect with Holly. She really is amazing, and her book is out. You can get it on Amazon. And it'd be great for everyone to connect. I think it's fun to bring.
Have you made an audiobook?
No, I have been asked to. It's just a matter of sitting down and doing it, which I would love to do.
So this brings us on to my top 5 steps to true confidence. And these are very simple. These are the 5 P's, in my opinion, for being confident in sales. And it starts with number 1, be positive. Mm-hmm. If you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. In other words, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So think you can. So be positive. That's your first P. Second P, plan, which you talked about goals and planning. Plan what you are doing. What are you saying? What are you meant to be doing for the day? What are the objections you can handle? What questions are you going to ask? Plan. What are your targets? Then prepare. Have everything ready. Have your pens ready. Have your pads, your notes, your calls, your information ready. If you need brochures, if you need web pages you've got to share, have it ready. And as you guys know, I'm a great one for planning and preparing. And I'm pleased that you at last have brought into this concept of making sure you've worked everything out before you do it. So you are both welcome, of course. Then once you've been positive and you've planned and you've prepared, practice what you're saying. Now, I mean, one of the thing is that people think they can talk about things and just do it off the cuff. It's very, very hard to do that. You have to have spent a lot, the concept of 10,000 hours to become expert in something. Well, if you haven't done 10,000 hours of doing the thing again and again and again, and you're not that polished, then practice. How many salespeople truly have practiced the sales calls, their initial presentation? I mean, we're part of a business networking, and how many people practice their weekly presentations? They don't. So they just come, and it shows. Practice. I used to act, and what you don't see is that performance. So there's a saying, right? So imagine, just everyone here, just do this. Everyone work this out, and you can answer on the chat if you want. You're going to see Romeo and Juliet in 7 days' time. Imagine that theatres are open, okay? 7 days from now. So not tonight, but in 7 days' time. Now, there is a performance, an evening performance every day, apart from a Monday, okay? And there is 2 on a Saturday and 2 on a Sunday, all right? So not tonight, 7 days from now, there's 2 on the weekends, but there's nothing on a Monday. When you go on the 8th day and Romeo meets Juliet for the first time at that party, how many times has Romeo met Juliet before that moment?
Who's going to get it?
Very good, Juliet. Never. I'm still waiting.
That's cute, Juliet.
So how many times has Romeo, right? Colin's put 10. Okay. Kim's got it right. Because when Romeo meets Juliet for the first time, it is the first time. And that is the secret to all of that work that is done as an actor, because you have to believe it's for the first time. And that is the point about practice. Practice so that you're so comfortable with it. You don't have to think about the words. You just have to think about being present and being there for your customer, to listen to what they've got to say. Ask those questions and listen. Because when you're talking, you shouldn't be thinking about what you're going to say next. You should be thinking about what's the customer saying and listening to what they've got to say, not what you've got to say. It's that customer-centric attitude.
Does that not come down to, as well, the communication skills, being able to actively listen to what your client's saying? But also, I know it's practice, but I think knowing your practice comes into also knowing what you're selling and truly believing what you're selling as well, because
it's all part of it.
Yeah.
But that's sort of be positive, plan, and a part of preparation is understanding what you're saying. What am I doing? What am I doing? What's the point of it? Why are my customers interested? And the last one.
I've actually got a question on.
Can I do the last one?
No, I've got a question about this one. Can you over practice?
No, not in my opinion, because the 5th one, thank you very much for teeing it up, is because although you've practiced, you've still got to perform. And that's where the nerves comes in, which takes us right back to where we started. But if you know you can handle, well, take public speaking. People are scared of public speaking. The biggest problem, the nerves comes into, what if someone asks me a question I can't answer? What if I look stupid up there? What if I freeze? Well, you freeze because your mind goes blank, fight or flight, which you mentioned. You don't know what to say because somebody could heckle you and throw something out there. Now, I did a lot of, I did stand-up training when I was
Comedy.
in between first and second marriage. And I'm now currently between second and third marriage, just so you all know. But the point is that, the fear is if somebody heckling you or cutting you, asking you a question you don't know the answer to.
Yeah.
And this is where the communication skills comes in, because if you know how to handle questions as part of the sales process, then you can deal with anything. And that all comes down to acknowledge and everything else that we talk about. And we'll talk about more in the next webinar. So that's it. It's plan, be positive, plan, prepare, practice, and perform.
If you don't know the answer to a question, the best thing to do is ask another question. I think sometimes we can be, I think one of the best things I ever learned was don't be afraid to ask questions. I think people sometimes feel like, and this is an ego thing, where you don't want to ask because you don't want to seem like you look dumb or something. But actually, if you don't know the answer to something, you can ask another question, and
That's a good point.
You can get around it. And that has
Great
something
point.
to do with ego, which is a whole nother subject.
What feels written there?
People's desire to be loved gets in the way of their desire to be successful. Ooh.
Good one.
That's good. It's true.
Good one. Love it. And that is, and if you think about it, you want to be loved, so you don't want to ask the hard question. So you don't. So we're coming into the last section, and the timing is impeccable. Holly, why is true confidence so important to salespeople?
Because it gives you your swagger every single day, and it will help you achieve your sales quota. That's why I think it's important. That's why I think it's important.
Confidence is, when you lack in confidence, you lack in, I think it leads to other, for example, we all want to feel self-actualization. We want to feel highly motivated. We want to get those like dopamine going and feel good from our jobs, right? So when we're not confident, I think you just lack in performance. You go home and you just feel, and Holly, we spoke about before today, we spoke about how, low confidence in a sales job can actually lead to affecting your home life. Yeah. So I think it's so important to believe in yourself and to put the right foot forward for you. Forget your boss or anything, do it for you, and to just allow yourself to not shrink, but to shine, and to allow yourself to succeed all you can, because you really can achieve anything. And it's only ourselves that, a lot of the time, it's us that prevents us from being right, the shining light we really are.
So Holly, you feel confidence is going to help because it gives you that swagger, which enables you to handle the negativity, I guess, that you're going to get.
Absolutely. You feel like you're unstoppable. Mm-hmm.
You feel it's going to give you that, make you be able to cope in life. I feel that another aspect to that is that if you are truly confident and not arrogant, as someone's just mentioned, not arrogant, but confident, then if you're confident, your customer will be confident in you too. Mm. And I guess that's where you're, the fake it, make it sort of thing. But if you know, and by that, I mean, you know your product is good. Not, my product's the best. You only have to go to a Ferrari dealership to see arrogant salespeople. But if you know that your product is right and it's a really good product, then your objective is to help that customer benefit from it, as opposed to trying to sell it. And that's the key thing. So, I think that's having that confidence is vital. It is really everything. But it's not just magic. You have to work at it. You have to work on yourself, lifelong learning. You have to develop yourself, practice, all of those things we've talked about.
I genuinely feel that confidence and your sense of self are very, and Colin's just put, perhaps low confidence displays as insecurity. Well, if you're insecure, likelihood is you've got low confidence. But even if you are pretty secure in yourself, you can still have confidence knocks. And would you not say, Holly, you could still feel low confidence
if you're secure? If
you're secure in yourself and you feel like, and you're in, for example, you're in a really good place, you're doing well, you can still take a knock, and our confidence can go up and down.
I think that's human.
Yeah.
You do have to watch out for those narcissists out there that project uber confidence.
Oh, that's a whole other webinar right there.
Right.
A whole other webinar too.
I got all kind of content.
I think that is a great call. I wonder if there is.
Has anyone here dealt with a narcissist?
I'm just going to say, I wonder if there's. I think we should do a webinar that's not necessarily sales organized, but we should do a webinar on narcissistic people.
Yeah, because do you know what? It
That's a great call.
it has
Wonder if there's
such an
interest in that.
impact.
We'll put that out there.
But
Yeah.
do you know what? Dealing with the narcissist, Holly, we discussed this in length. Dealing with narcissists has taught us a lot. And you learn a lot. And actually, I look back and I'm actually quite thankful for the traumatic experience because it's made me who I am. And I feel like I've just gained a wider perspective.
Okay, so a lot of excitement. Lots of people want right. Let's do a narcissistic. Let's do a narcissistic thing. Holly, you got a date. What if we do it?
We can do a date. We've got content galore on that. Summer, my friend says, yes, interact with lots of narcissistic personalities. Oh,
yeah.
You know what they say, a narcissist is for life, not just for Christmas.
Thanks, Aaron.
We hope not. Let's try and plan that in, and we'll do that. I think that could be a really popular one, and we'll put people out there and give them the chance for people to talk about that. So we'll watch out for
100-hour webinar. Isn't it sad that so many of us have come across narcissists? Yeah, it does happen.
I keep marrying them.
Well, yeah, unfortunately.
Another webinar, Adam. Kim Fowler, who's on, she and I actually put on a seminar last January that was based on narcissism. So I'm sure she has something to contribute to that.
Oh, wow.
Well, maybe we'll get a few. We'll widen it up and do like a panel event, stuff like that.
Yeah,
that might be fun.
That's a good idea. That's a great idea.
Get some other people on there because it's not all about just Bianca and you talking. Other people have got to talk as well.
Before we move on, because I know you two have something you want to talk about, but I think although this has all been about confidence and selling, it really is as well important to have increased confidence in life. And Holly really is someone to go to for that. And she's got a really good podcast. Do you want to just talk about it? Because I feel like you've not actually touched on it, and it's a really good podcast. I really do enjoy it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I promise I'll be quick because I know we're coming up on our time here. Like I said earlier, I started a podcast in June called GTFO. Yes, it's an acronym for Get the F Out. And my guests talk about their different GTFO scenarios. One was on the Miracle on the Hudson, which was a flight that crashed, if you will, in New York City in January 2009. I've spoken to Brian Cuban, who is Mark Cuban's brother. And if you're familiar with Mark Cuban, he owns the Mavericks basketball team over here, about him getting out of alcohol and addiction and body dysmorphia. So everyone has a GTFO moment. It could be leaving a marriage to a narcissist. That was one topic. Everyone has a defining moment where they escaped something that was no longer good for them. So my guests come on and tell their personal stories. That's the podcast. It's called GTFO, the podcast. It's on Apple.
How do we get that? Is it on Apple?
Yeah,
it's on Spotify.
When everyone attends gets a get a follow-up email and an opportunity for a gift. We're always giving stuff away, so we'll put those links in there.
The gift of Holly.
Yeah, deck the podcast with boughs of holly. And
that was good.
So here's a question, right? One last thing, Holly, do you want to share with us? Do you want to share about Coach Aid? What shall I?
Oh, yes. Would you like? Yes.
March the 15th is the date we've pretty much chosen for one of the most excited projects I think I've ever been worked in my life. Holly, how would you describe it?
Adam and I were talking about how 2020 has changed the lives of so many people, and that coming out of it, we wanted to do a production where different coaches could participate in a webinar. We can address personal issues and how people have been affected from 2020. Maybe it's financial, maybe it's confidence, maybe it's illness, but we want to be able to reach people who need coaching. So hence Coach Aid. For those of you out there who are children of the 80s, like me, do you remember there was Band-Aid? And I think you too was
Live
in
Aid.
Band-Aid. Yeah, it's the same concept, except Coach Aid. And it's going to be an international project, coaches from all over the world, like us doing this right now. And we think it'll serve a lot of people.
Yeah, we're looking to, we've got a few lined up, and it's going to be for charity. So we think it'll be a great thing, nominal amount of money to help 2 or 3 charities. But more importantly, about getting that, about getting people energized for 2021 and give back, because let's be honest, why else, that's why we do this every month. And I get a lot out of doing these. I thoroughly enjoy them. I think it helps promote brand, but more importantly, why wouldn't I enjoy watching this marvelous person just...
You're marvelous too.
I know I'm marvelous. But
So are you, Holly, you're marvelous too.
and more importantly, you're all marvelous. Okay, so that's
thanks,
fantastic,
Bill.
right? I hope
I'm lucky too.
we're going to start promoting that, and you'll see it. coachaid.co.uk is the website that we've sort of started to put up, and watch this space for more effort. So we're happy to stay around for a little bit longer for everyone to chat. Any questions, we're happy to answer. I hope you've enjoyed it all. Holly, I hope you've enjoyed coming.
I've enjoyed it, and I've enjoyed meeting so many different new people, and it's been a lot of fun today. So thank you for having me.
Yay. Well, hopefully we're going to get to do more and more.
Yes. Well, I think the narcissist one is a great idea. And I think there'll be a lot of people. There's some few messages on here. Mark, thank you very much. Mark's taking Trailblazer away with him.
Oh, right. Take Trailblazer, use it.
Great,
That's pretty awesome. I love
Kim
that.
Fowler's sussed us out with her Kool-Aid comment. Yes, you drink the Kool-Aid. That is the cult aspect of what we're setting up here. So welcome to the cult.
That's true. That's true.
Nothing like drinking the Kool-Aid. Jim Jones, marvelous. And yeah, Team Caplan, brilliant, Jarrett. Oh, Jarrett, you must connect with Holly. Jarrett's based in Boston.
Oh, great. Yes.
Definitely,
he's only ahead of me.
definite link. Good. Well, listen, guys, we're going to stay on for a bit. Bianca, do you want to, any other questions people want to ask? We've got one
We
here.
have one question. Carol had another. Oops, shoot.
Do you think people who are fearful of selling could benefit from changing their terminology from sales selling to helping solving? Well, yeah, I think this is you're going to really love then the anti-sales manifesto, because it's really flipping a switch on what selling is and really sort of coming through with a revolution of selling with love and really putting the customer first. If selling was more customer centered and less ego centered, what a different world it would be. So absolutely, because it's literally what we preach. And
we need to find another word for selling.
Because I think a lot of people don't want to be sold to.
Quelling. It's Yiddish. It's funny. That was quite good. I thought it was quite fast.
That was good.
Oh, this webinar will be available within a few days on the podcast, and obviously Holly will share those links with you so you can share that. But I think there's any more questions. Anything else you want to say, Bianca?
Well, to your dismay, no one has mentioned that. Literally, no one has noticed or said anything about the fact that the Dalek is bang in the middle of him, to the point he has moved me just so this child can be in here.
I thought it was a nice thing to have. Makes it interesting.
But no one said it. No one mentioned it. But it is pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. It is pretty cool.
Full size.
So off she goes. No worries.
Have a name? Does the robot have a name?
It's from Doctor Who. So it's not mine as it happens. It's Dylan's in the office. But anyway, So look, we really loved it. We enjoyed having you, Holly, to be quite honest. It was an absolute pleasure, an absolute blast, if I can say. Hopefully everybody enjoyed this. Yeah.
Yes.
All good?
Yeah, everyone connect with Holly, and if you haven't connected with us, it'd be great to connect. But yeah, look forward to having you on again, Holly.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lots more with you.
Definitely. It was a lot of fun.
It was.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we copy that. And well, I think with that, we're going to, I think we'll call it. If anyone's got have dinner, really enjoyed it. Brilliant. Love it, everyone. Well, I think that's great. Bianca, do you want to share any?
I love that. Off to blaze a trail to dinner.
There you go.
Funny.
Good timing. Good timing.
And yeah, I think that's I really like the idea of Holly, I really like the idea of doing a narcissist thing. I think that would be
well, we should
cool.
talk because I've got some presentations on it.
Okay, we'll talk.
I got presentations. So
and are the dogs still outside?
Like what my girl said. Definitely coming back to the narcissistic webinar. I cannot wait to talk about myself.
Very funny.
My girls are the comedians.
Where are the dogs? Are they still outside in the blazing heat?
Me?
The dogs?
They're in the office.
Chewing it to bits.
Probably chewing it to bits. Probably chewing on the desk right now.
Good.
Yeah. Or some shoes. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, look, guys.
With that in mind, I think we should trailblaze off to dinner.
We should.
Trailblaze. That's a good idea.
Thank you everyone for coming.
Thank you. And we will see you. What are you doing?
Oh, sorry.
Bianca.
And bye, Holly. It was so great to see you.
One sec.
Hold on.
Just wanted to do that. Sorry, Holly. I just wanted to make sure that we got all the notes and what people had said because it's good to refer to. Well,
Wonderful.
2020. This is the last webinar of this shocking year, but we're back on January the 4th for the Anti-Sales Manifesto, and we're also going to have a bonus event possibly with the Narcissist Night or whatever. So we'll let you know about that. And
That's good. That's good. We can do that. Yeah.
Knights of the Narcissistic Round Table. Thank you, everyone. I think we'll call it.
Yeah. Ciao, everyone.
See you later, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
See you soon.